Hello again. It's David Furman, and I'm talking to you this time from the basement of our house. We are still mid-pandemic. I apologize for the appearance of my hands. Hand sanitizer is having an adverse effect on my skin, so if it looks kind of scaly here, that's what I think is the problem. So anyways, let's move on from that happy note. One of my end goals for this project is to produce a book. I've been producing lots of books of late. I have a whole series in my Ways to Walk project. This is the latest one, Long Walks to No Place in Particular. And these are, again, print-on-demand books that are done by Blurb Books. I have 9 of them in the series so far. I plan to do something similar for my From Our Windows project. The book itself is going to be somewhat similar to From My Window by Andrea Cortege, which I've showed you before. It will, of course, have lots of differences. I'm hoping it'll have lots of differences. My photography is somewhat similar, but it's also diverted quite a ways from what Andrea Cortege was doing in his project. So what I've done right here is I've done a test publication. This is a test blurb publication. The smallest size book you can get from Blurb is 20 pages. It doesn't cost very much. So it's a good idea to do a test publication just to get an idea, a feeling for how your book is going to look before you actually go ahead and print the much larger, perhaps 50, 60 page book at the end of the project. So this is my 20 page experiment. So right now I'm well into the project. I have a lot of my pictures done, but this test book sort of helps me again to frame how I'm going to present those pictures. This gives me a chance to experiment with layout, with fonts, with backgrounds, and with image quality. As I said, I've sort of been using the Blurb publication process. It's a print-on-demand process. All I do is I have to lay out the book on my computer, submit it online, and they will print a copy, send it to me, and then I can evaluate it from there. The format I'm planning to use, again, somewhat similar to Andrea Cortege, is a hardcover book with a glossy dust jacket. You have a choice of matte or glossy dust jackets. So this is sort of my preliminary layout. The photographs throughout the book I plan to have a 1-to-1. They're going to be exactly the same size as the SX-70 pictures in reality. So that's the plan, to do that, and you'll notice that throughout the book. For my display font on the cover and on the inside covers and pages and what have you, I'm planning to use a font that is somewhat similar to the original Polaroid Corporation font. There's a little bit of argument as to what Polaroid Corporation actually used back in the 1970s and 80s. This is what I've come up with as a reasonable facsimile. It's called the Vectora font. And so I'm reasonably happy with this. I plan to use this for my display font in the book. I do plan to make the font size a little bit smaller, but we'll be playing with that a little bit further. At least now, again, even at that stage, I get to see how, just by having it here, I can see whether I'm happy with that size or not, and take it from there. So that's just the end papers here. I should mention that it's a good idea, if you are using Blurb, you can order a Swatch Kit from them, which gives you all the information in terms of papers and end papers and fabric for your book. For example, the hardcover comes standard in a black cover. By the way, there's no title on the spine, or author or publisher on the spine, so it's just a blank book. So you really do need that. You really do need this dust cover on it with all your information. Again, I have a spine. It's a little bit on the large side, so that'll be reduced in scale as well. When you do get your Swatch Kit, you'll have your choice of 3 different book covers. Either the black, which is a standard color, or you can upgrade at some cost to an oatmeal or a sort of a gray color. I'm tending to go with the black right now, just because I'm trying to keep the cost a little bit under control. And the same with the end papers. You do have some choice when you get your Swatch Kit. You have your choice in terms of end papers. I'm reasonably happy with this choice. Again, this one comes as a standard color. There's no upcharge. Some of these do cost extra, so just have to be aware of that as well. All these things can increase the cost of your book through Blurb, or pretty much any publisher, really. Anyway, so let's move on here a bit. So this is more what I would call my frontispiece, which has just the title on it, and then my front matter will be just will actually be, in my case, will be a picture and the title. And then from there, I've sort of compressed everything because I'm trying to make use of the 20 pages, but I would not have my text starting on the next page, because as you can see through it, and it's kind of unattractive. So this would be a blank page behind here. And then I would start into right here with my planned essay, which will be, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 pages. Now here I was experimenting with different fonts. First of all, I have my Ventana font over here, which is the cover font, a sans serif font. And then here I have my serif font, which is the Galliard font. And this is the Galliard font is what Andrew Cortege used for his book, or what his book designer used for his book. And I find it's quite an elegant, attractive font, and I like the way it looks in terms for the text in his text. Let's just take a quick look at it here. So it's in the form of an interview with Peter McGill in 1981. But it's quite an elegant font, I think. So I would like to use that. I tend to like serif fonts for text. It just looks to me more attractive and more readable, actually. So what I've done here is I've experimented with different point sizes for the 2 different fonts, for the Galliard font and for the Ventana font as well. I think I like, this is 11 point with an 18 point leading. Leading is the space between the lines. I'm sort of leaning in that direction, partly because I'm getting older and I like to have a bigger type. 10 point starts to look a little bit small to me. Then you move over here to the Ventana font, and you can see that 11 point here looks quite large. Almost, that looks really too large. And if I was to choose this one, I'd probably go down to a 10 or perhaps even a 9 point font here. So, and again, I'm experimenting with font size as well as different leadings, just to get a sense of what my options are and what looks good. But I do like the 11 point Galliard font with the 18 point leading. It seems to be nice and readable. So that's just an example page there. From here on in, pretty much it's just testing out backgrounds. I'm still a little bit unsure how I'm going to go in terms of backgrounds. This background, let me just make sure I've got this right. Yeah, this background is and remember that when you're doing publications, you're working in CMYK colors, cyan, magenta, yellow, and K being black. This is a slightly warm gray that is a mixture of the different CMYK colors. I kind of like it. It's kind of warmth. I'm just trying to think about how I'm going to separate the picture from the background, or if I want to, how that's going to work. And the other interesting difference between my book and I think Cortege's book, and as a matter of fact, between most books that contain SX-70 pictures and Cortege's book, you can see Cortege just has the image here. He doesn't have the frame at all. And I didn't really think about this to start with, but it started to really become a design topic for me. And I decided whether I would go with the entire image, the entire SX-70 image, including what I would call the frame here, around it, the white frame. And that's because this is such an iconic thing, just the whole thing. It's not just the picture itself, but the whole frame. It's like a visual icon. It just seems like I should be including all the white frame around it as well. So anyways, I've gone to that direction. Now it's a matter of how I'm going to separate it or not separate it from the background. So as I said, this is my slightly warm gray background. This is a pure gray. This is just using the K ink, the black ink in printing, and it's a little bit of course on the cooler side in comparison. So I don't really like that one. This is another possibility. It's a darker warm gray as well. It's kind of nice because the images really pop off the page here, and you get the sense that it's that this thing is sort of separate. This iconic image is sort of separate from the page that it's lying on. One of the things I've sort of been playing around is just the whole idea is that when you take an SX-70 picture, not only is it an instant picture, so-called instant picture, but it also comes out of the camera pre-framed. And I like that idea, so that in a way, this is the ideal sort of presentation mode, is to have it in your hands, such as I have here. So that's something I'm playing with as well. Another possibility, and I saw one example where there's a black background, but I find this a little bit too intense. I thought I'd try it anyways, just in a publication to see what it looked like. And then there's 2 pages with just a white background. A lot of SX-70 books just have a white background, and it works out not too badly, because in reality the frame of the SX-70 picture is actually gray. It's not white at all. And then one last experiment is my experiment with color background. It is an intriguing possibility. This is a sort of a deep purple color. It works well with this image, and unfortunately I used the same image on both pages. It would have been better to choose another image just to see how it looked, like how would it look with that, for example. I'm not too sure, or some of these other images as well. It's hard to say. And then at the very end I have what I'm calling my colophon, which will have all the publication information. It'll have when it was published. It'll have my information on it as well, copyright details, and I will probably put in some additional notes as well in terms of the fonts I used and that type of thing. So that's yet to come. Now, one of the things when you get a book from Blurb, you can get it in 2 different ways. One is with this extra page in it, which is a blank page, which has the Blurb icon on it. That's the way it would come normally, I would say. You can opt to have this not included, to have this page, have the book without the blurb, and that would eliminate this page entirely. However, there's a significant increase in cost to do that, so I think I'm just going to opt to have it there. I mean, in a way, it would be normal to have some information about the publisher anyway, so why not? So where do I go from here? Oh, and I should mention, sorry, I forgot to mention this, is that also part of your Blurb swatch package is that you get swatches of the different paper types you can get. Normally, this is the default, is the standard paper, which I've used for all of my other publications, actually. It works out well for these soft cover books, and the image quality is quite good, so I have no complaints with the standard paper at all. However, for this book, which I think is going to be a little bit more on the elegant side, I would say, I wanted to go with perhaps something a little bit finer, so I'm tending to lean towards this premium luster paper. Also looks pretty good, a slightly better image quality, I would say, but what I like is it's also a heavier paper. The standard paper is an 80-pound paper. The premium luster is a 100-pound paper. Now, you also, if you get the Swatch Kit, they show the papers in black and white and with color images, and there's also other papers you can get as well, which are even more expensive. Like if I go with this premium luster, there is a somewhat of an upcharge for the paper. You can also go with these Proline papers, which are also 100 pound, which will cost even more. And then there's also this Proline Pearl photo paper, which is a 140 pound paper, which is quite thick. But I think I'm pretty happy with the 100-pound paper here. It's the first time I've used it, so that was the other reason for getting a test book, was to see how that's looked. Now, all this said, I might end up getting another book, because when I did my test publication, it was a little bit earlier on in the project, and I had all these singular images that I was working with. However, then I started, if you're following me on Instagram, for example, I started playing around with images that were painted. These are using alcohol ink, and again playing around with a spherical sort of paint blobs on these images. And I started to play around also with then clustering these. I would get groups of 4. The problem then becomes with this size of book is that it's really tight, or actually kind of impossible to fit them all on one page. I don't think it would look very good. And in this particular one, my planned arrangement was to have them like that, so you can see that it actually wouldn't fit on the page. So what I have to do some more experiments with now is perhaps a 2-page spread of these images where they would be somewhat like laid out like that, and then that, and then that like that. If you look at them in the Instagram page, on my Instagram pages or my blog, you would note that the images are actually butted up against each other. So this would necessitate, I think, some sort of a spread, a separation of the images, such as that, to make it work. And then you have to play with how it works with the gutter right here. So that might require maybe another test book, and that would then allow me to experiment with a couple of other things I've been thinking about as well. One is that some publications of SX-70 pictures do use a very slight drop shadow. It's a very fine shadow just to define the edge. And I was hesitant. I tried it. I was a little bit hesitant to go that way. So I'm not too sure if I want to do that, but I might actually give it a try in a test book just to see how it looks in the book. So that would be another step in the process, really. So that's the project in a nutshell as far as I've gotten it. If you're looking at this on my YouTube channel, then you'll find links to Blurb Books and also to my Blurb Bookstore down below. So take a look at those. Make sure to follow the progress of the project on Instagram or my blog. And again, the links to those will be down below. So until next time, bye-bye.